People, people, and people. Hello, I'm Seth Mulder. Welcome to Entrepreneur 101. We have another episode today, and I'm burning the midnight oil tonight. It is dark around me. It's dark outside. It's dark in this room, except for this ring light that we've got moving tonight. We've got people from Asia joining in on the live session. If you're live listening to this, please drop a live and where you're coming in from. You may be catching this later on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn or some other new social media format 10 years from now. It's 2019 when I'm recording this. Tonight we're going to be talking about another key factor in being successful in business, and that is people, people, people. If you're burning the midnight oil with me tonight, thanks. As a side note, a little extra value tonight is if, as an entrepreneur, you are not burning the midnight oil, then you're not going to get ahead. You gotta burn the midnight oil. You gotta be willing to do the things that maybe you don't want to necessarily do because they have to be done. Honestly, I'd love to be in bed tonight. That's where I'd love to be because I'm up tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. But I'm burning the midnight oil because this content, this series, Entrepreneur 101, is a serious part of of my overarching strategy and core competency as an entrepreneur and what I'm doing in the entrepreneurial world. So here we are, burning the midnight oil. Tonight's episode, let's talk about people. Last episode, we talked about leadership. The number one thing that's really going to matter is the leadership in your company, the leadership in your organization, the leadership in your team, and that's you, right? Becoming a level 5 leader. I'm going to be building on that tonight as we talk about the second ingredient for the good to great companies. If you've not read this book by Jim Collins, this is one of my top all-time business in the business genre, core business, deliver me content and strategy and insight as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. One of my all-time favorite books, Good to Great. I don't have time to go into synopsis tonight. You can go back to the last episode, episode 2, where we talked about leadership. But tonight I want to build on that. And I want to start with this. In real estate, what do they usually say the first 3 laws in real estate are? Anybody know? Drop a comment. Again, I don't care what platform you're listening to this, live or recorded. But what are often the oft quoted first 3 laws of real estate? Location, 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 right? In the world of building an enterprise, yes, Maxine, thank you. In the world of building an enterprise, all right, you as an entrepreneur are here to build an enterprise, a movement, okay? You have to build a team, okay? Now, if you're in an enterprise, if you're an entrepreneur right now and you're not building a team, then you must have a strategy to build a team. Otherwise, you're not necessarily an entrepreneur. You're self-employed. Okay, there is a difference between being self-employed and being an entrepreneur. Self-employed is where maybe you go and you get to make tacos or you get to count beans. You know, if you're an accountant or if you're in the medical field, maybe you're running your own practice. And you're on your own. But we're talking about people who are looking for more than just being tied to a career, all right? Entrepreneurs are looking for something more from an umbrella standpoint. They want to accomplish more, perhaps, but they also want to create more. They want to bring more value. And all of us as entrepreneurs, we want to also, there's something that we want on the other side. There is something we want in that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Most of us, that is time freedom, okay? We want to make an impact in the world. We want to change the world, and we want to be paid in the very best way possible for that. So I'm not talking about tonight about the self-employed solo individual, unless your goal is to create an enterprise. What we're talking about tonight is putting together a team. And the rules for putting together a team are this: people, people, people. Let me tell you a quick story. Steve Jobs starts Apple, late 70s, 77, 78. And, they're moving along. He and Steve Wozniak are doing some great things, some amazing things, some very disruptive things. But he knew that in order to make that vision happen, in order to create the correct type of visions, in order to fill the measure of their creation as a company, as an entity, as an enterprise, as a team, he had to bring the right people. Whether you're playing basketball or World Cup soccer or putting together an enterprise, okay, you have to put the right people, on the bus, as it were. They have to put the jersey on. You got to get, as they say in Good to Great, get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and the right people in the right seats. So here's the story. Steve Jobs knows that he needs to do things that he's never done. And of course, two things need to happen when you're faced with challenges that you've never faced before in the world of business and in life. Number one, you need to retool. You need to up yourself. You need to increase your level of leadership, your level of understanding, your skill set. You got to go to work. Additionally, you got to find the people. You have to find the people. If I compare this to basketball, you're a great shooter, love it, awesome. But just being a great shooter isn't going to create a great team. You got to have multiple shooters, by the way. You have to have people who can fill their roles. You have to have role players who can get rebounds. Everybody has to get rebounds, but maybe you want some specialized people who really do that incredibly. You have to have some defensive players who can shut down the number one guy on the other team. You have to have people who can be support players, passers, etc. I don't want to go into basketball strategy tonight, but you have to put together a team. Listen, if you're an entrepreneur, the number one thing after increasing your own level of leadership, the number one thing that you need to do is you need to put the right people on that bus. And then you can come up with some of the strategies. Maybe then you come up with the vision. In fact, in Good to Great, they say, first who, then what? Let me tell you the story. Steve Jobs is looking for some additional leadership. He goes to a guy that he's been talking to for months and months and months, consulting with, counseling with, bouncing ideas, and frankly, inviting to come to that company called Apple. And by the way, at this time, Apple was not the number one company in the world. They were not the most valuable company in the world. They were doing some disruptive things, but they were also, in some instances, getting beat, at least out in the marketplace. IBM was probably the number one. IBM was seen as the pretty boy, the big kid on the block, the powerhouse, and Apple was, Apple was sidelined, guys. Apple was tangential. Apple was another contender, but certainly an underdog. And Steve Jobs needed to create a better team. So he went to John Sculley. John Sculley, by the way, at the time, was the CEO, the president of PepsiCo, of Pepsi Corporation, and had done some amazing things. In fact, if you remember back in the 1980s, the Pepsi taste tests, right? The blind tests and people on the street and people in the store tasting Pepsi and saying, wow, this is amazing. I had no idea it was Pepsi. That whole marketing strategy, that in part was because of John Sculley's leadership at Pepsi. And Steve said, listen, I really want you to come work at Apple. Now, guys, Pepsi was one of the darling companies in the world at that time. Okay, publicly traded. Apple was not in the zip code, okay, of Pepsi at that time. It would have been like John would have been taking a demotion in some aspects, okay. And so he told him, no, I'm not interested. I'm happy where I am. But Steve Jobs did not quit on John Sculley. Steve Jobs did not quit on first who, then what. He knew he had to put the team together. And some of you are in the business as entrepreneurs. We're all in the business of putting teams together. That is my business. My business, I am putting teams together, period. That's what I do as an entrepreneur, as a biohacker, okay? My business is built on helping create teams. And so some of you need to hear this tonight because you're giving up too early. You're giving up before you get the John Sculleys, right? Or maybe you're not going to get the John Sculley, but you need to go after Jane Smith, right? You have to put that team together. So one day, after repeated attempts, Steve Jobs to John Sculley, hey, why don't you come work for Apple? Hey, why don't you come work together with Apple? They're together and in the office, and Steve, kind of in kind of that vintage Steve Jobs, probably wearing a mock turtleneck and some blue jeans, staring at his shoes for a while, and then just looks up at John Sculley and says this, John, are you really happy selling sugar water? Or I think it was something like this. John, do you really want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world? Hashtag that if that is powerful for you. This is one of my all-time favorite business stories, guys, because of this principle, okay? John, do you really want to sell sugar water the rest of your life, Pepsi? Or do you want to come with me and change the world? As an entrepreneur, you have to be Steve Jobs. You have to be the visionary. You have to be the one who's committed to putting together the team. Do not settle for being an extraordinary person, the best talented person in the room, surrounded by a bunch of helpers. You will never go good to great. Surround yourself with people who better you. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, okay? And challenge you to be better. In my career, surrounding myself with people who are flat out better than I am. And then working with that team to go and create and or accomplish the vision. Do you want to sell sugar water the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world? John Sculley was stunned at that statement by Steve Jobs and came with Steve. He left Pepsi as the number one and came and worked with Steve Jobs and put Apple into a different trajectory. He brought skills that Steve Jobs did not have. He brought marketing experience and perspective and strategy implementation that Steve didn't have. And by the way, they didn't always get together. And in fact, later, John Sculley ended up getting rid of Steve Jobs, right? Had his own company. And Steve came back and they became the Apple that they are today. But that time period in Apple's history was critical, absolutely critical to where they are today. Steve Jobs wanted John Sculley. It was first who, then what? First, let's get the right people on the bus and get the right people in the right place. And then, what are we going to go accomplish? Do you know who you are looking for right now in your business? Do you know what that person looks like or what they need to have? I do. As an entrepreneur, builder, right, co-partner, okay, in the online world, I know who I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for somebody who is self-motivated, who is positive, who is a self-starter, self-moving, who is coachable, and who wants to make $120,000 a year residual income in the next 24 to 36 months. That is who I'm looking for. Do you see how that can change your business, your implementation, and change the dynamic of your company when you know who you are looking for? So tonight, my invitation is create 3 or 4 bullet points of the person that you're looking for, the next most important person on your team. And if you're working in the traditional world, maybe you can't afford to hire them, make it happen, find a way, right? In my world as an entrepreneur, listen, I'm not looking to hire people, I'm looking to partner with people. I'm looking for partners, which means that I'm not looking for most people. I'm looking for a small subset of people who who are self-motivated, self-starting, coachable, positive attitude, and want to make $120,000 a year residual income in the next 24 to 36 months and willing to go to work, okay? Because I know that, I can go find that person. When I find that person, then we can go duplicate that business building process with them. People, people, people. Guys, if you want to create a great enterprise, go find the right people. Let me just share a line or two from Good to Great, okay? I'm in this chapter, first who, then what, okay? This is what a leader might say. Look, I don't really know where we should take the bus yet, but I know this much. If we get the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seats and the wrong people off the bus, by the way, bad apples will spread in your organization. So if it's not a good fit, okay, help them find another home. For the sake of just finding a person and getting them in, don't bring bad people into your organizations. That's the number one. You do not have time to bring the wrong people into your organizations. Okay, negative, nasty, blood-sucking people into your organizations. Tell them, listen, I love some of your skills, but there's some of your personality, some of your skill set doesn't fit here. So if you can change that, I think maybe we can make this work, right? But you have to put the right people on the bus, guys, okay? And then we'll figure out how to go someplace great. If you have the wrong people, I'm quoting this, by the way, page 42. If you have the wrong people, it doesn't matter whether you discover the right direction. You still won't have a great company. Great vision without great people is irrelevant. Guys, give me a hashtag on that, no matter where you are. Great vision without great people is irrelevant. By the way, if there is something in this that you've gotten value from, please throw that in the comment section where you got the value. At the very least, write a hashtag value. Specifically, let's get specific. Tag people you know who are entrepreneurs, who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to create great enterprises. Tag them and let them know why you want them to listen to this, okay? You can share it generally, that's great, but get specific and tag specific people that you think can benefit from this. By the way, if there's a question you have about getting great people, if it is a great book, by the way, Carrie, if there's a question that you have that you want to answer, that you want some help on, some mentoring, some perspective in your business as an entrepreneur, drop those comments in here or PM me, okay? Direct message me. And you may see those as future episodes, or I may take up a dialogue with you. Okay, we're here to bring you value, to rock your world as an entrepreneur. Okay, not just to get things done, but to change your world. Okay, who questions come before what questions. Okay, again, you want to create a level 5 leadership team and organization at every level of the organization. You don't want to be a genius with 1,000 helpers. Let me, here's another great quote. Quote, the good to great companies understood a simple truth. The right people will do the right things and deliver the best results they're capable of, regardless of their incentive system. Okay? It is about getting the right people. The only way to deliver to the people who are achieving is not to burden them with the people who are not achieving. Okay? And let me end with this final quote, which transcends from business to life. I'm inviting you to assemble your teams, to get the right people with you, okay? Following you, yes, but with you, okay? Find the best people in the world. Do whatever it takes, and that will lead you. Perhaps, again, that's second to only being the right leader yourself, okay? Let me read this final quote, and then we'll drop off for the night. Thank you for burning some midnight oil with me tonight. Again, if you got value out of this, drop that in the section. Drop that in the comments. Whatever, if this is live or recorded. And again, share this with people specifically that you know, the YouTube link or the Facebook link or a tag or whatever, so that they can take their business to a different level. Quote: adherence to the idea of first who might be the closest link between a great company and a great life. Pause for a second. If there's one reason that I'm doing this, okay, there's one reason I'm doing this, yes, it is to help you create great enterprises, to become great entrepreneurs. But that is only built upon the significance of building first a great life. No matter what we achieve, if we don't spend the vast majority of our time with people we love and respect, we cannot possibly have a great life. But if we spend the vast majority of our time with people we love and respect, people we really enjoy being on the bus with and who will never disappoint us, then we will almost certainly have a great life, no matter where the bus goes. The people we interviewed from the good to great companies clearly loved what they did, largely because they loved who they did it with. End quote. What is the rule for building a great enterprise after leadership? People, people, people. This is Entrepreneur 101, Episode 3, People. God bless you, and let's go change the world.